y'all, this is Sarah. So I am right in the middle of crafting and I thought, hey, let me jump on here and see if my friends want to do this with me. I have got some of these Dollar Tree foam little craft bunnies. These are styrofoam and really cute. It's a pretty good size. They have big ones and small ones. This one is a 5-inch one. So I'm going to be playing with these today, and I've already been playing a little bit. I just wanted to see if you guys would hang out with me and play along. So I got this little guy out and did a couple things to him before we get started. One of the things I did was I took just a sanding block sponge from Dollar Tree, and I went ahead and really carefully and softly I kind of smoothed out his bottom feet area. This gave me a really flat surface. Since these are styrofoam, I do want them to sit up pretty nicely. The other thing I did was I kind of did the same thing along all of these seams. It's got a lot of like little hang from where it was manufactured, and you can kind of see those stick up. Your best option on this is just grabbing a nail file. You can get under the ears and all around those areas. You just want to smooth it out a little bit, but you don't want to do it too rough because you can probably see the styrofoam on my arms. It will go flying and you'll kind of misshape your little bunny if you get too excited with it. So this little guy is ready. I've got a couple of them in different stages of readiness because I was already playing. So I want to get this styrofoam off. I don't suggest wearing black doing this one. I made a mess of myself. Okay, so my little bunny, I started out with a little bit of Dollar Tree spackling. If you guys saw my terracotta vase video recently, you know where I'm going with this. I've got just some baking soda. I've got some brown paint, and it doesn't even have to be the Waverly Wax, but you guys know I keep this all the time right next to me, so whatever brown paint. The mix that I'm making right now, I'm using white chalk paint. You could use acrylic. I like chalk paint because it's already got a pretty decent texture to it, so it's really helping us build this texture. And then some kind of orange paint color. Now I'm going to tell you the orange I have is really bright because it's what I have. It was some clearance orange. It's what I'm using, but I'm going to show you how to turn this really bright orange into a more terracotta orange. One of the other things that I would suggest having handy is maybe some popsicle sticks or skewers or something like that, and just kind of poke up in your bunny. Don't worry, he's going to be sitting on this part for the most part. It's just going to save you a little headache while you're working, to be honest, and keep you from having to try to buff out fingerprints later. So I have mixed already, because I've been playing, just my Waverly White, my spackling, and some of the baking soda, and just kind of got it into a paste-like consistency. You could sponge this on, but we're going to add even more texture after this. I felt like, after trying it with the sponge, I felt like my brush was getting me up in these areas, like underneath his ears and that kind of thing. So I'm going through, kind of laying it on fairly thick. Like I said, we're going to build more on this. And if you saw that vase video, you know exactly where we're going with this, but in bunny form. And it's going to be so cute. I have some terracotta ceramic little bunnies that I pull out in spring. And I love those little guys. They're so cute. Now they're going to have like a little family. I wish I'd have grabbed more of these kind of 5-inch bunnies when I saw them. I did not think that far ahead. And you could do it with the little tiny ones, maybe for a tier tray. I think this guy will fit on a tier tray just fine. But that seemed like an awful lot of work. There's a whole lot more of the bunnies in the smaller package. But we're just going to keep coating this on. You want to give this a really good opportunity to dry. If you saw in my video, about the terracotta, I was impatient and really wanted to jump to the next step. Your paints mix and it kind of messes with your final overall color. So do give this kind of base coat the opportunity to dry and at least harden a little bit. So I'm going to continue to do this. I'm going to let them dry and you're going to see how we're going to apply this next coat. I'll get the mix. My paint is, it's been sitting here a while because I've been playing at this for a little bit. It's getting a little chunky. Quick tip, when you're playing with paint, I keep like just a tiny travel size spray bottle nearby. And it's really easy to kind of just spritz your paint and moisten it. If you've been working with it for a little while, that's just like a random thing to keep in mind if you're going to play with a lot of paints. So I think he's got some pretty good texture going on him. I feel like I've covered most of the little foamy kind of look. I don't know if you guys can see that. That styrofoamy kind of indentions. It's got it covered pretty good. The next layer is going to continue to add to that, and we're going to end up with some cute little terracotta bunnies. Okay, guys. So I'm ready to go ahead and start mixing my kind of terracotta look here. I've got just a little bowl that I can work in, and I'm going to go ahead and scoop out some of my spackling. I've got several of these that I'm doing, so keep in mind how much you feel like you're going to need coverage-wise for however many you're doing. I'm going to go ahead and add in this really crazy bright orange. This color is called Cayenne, by the way. If any of you are curious, it is Art Minds. Through the container, it really looked like a terracotta color to me, and then once I opened it, I realized it was quite a bright orange. So I'm going to go ahead and throw in a little of my baking soda. And the next thing I'm going to add is some of the antique, but I'm going to mix this part first so I can kind of see where I stand in my orange color. And it's going to start looking almost like a peach when you first start mixing it. And keep in mind, no matter how this mix looks, it's going to dry slightly different. You guys have probably noticed that. If you watch the vase video, it does dry a little different, but we're already at almost a peach-like kind of look and consistency. I'm going to come in with a little of my antique, and rather than trying to pour out of the bottle, I'm going to pull out of my little container here and just pop a little of that in. And this is really going to look kind of gross when you first start mixing it. It looks almost like a grayish brown. And you want to get it mixed really, really evenly. I'm trying to get to that bottom layer of the orange there. That way your color is kind of consistent all the way through your fake terracotta look. So I'm getting to a color that I'm pretty agreeable with. I'm going to go ahead and check my little bunnies, see if they're ready to start coating them on. So I've got one little bunny here that I feel like he's pretty ready to get some coverage. I've just got a little cut off chunk of a Dollar Tree kitchen sponge that I'm using to kind of get this texture on here pretty heavy. And you can play with the look. So this sponge leaves that kind of texture. The Dollar Tree bath sponge leaves a bit of a heavier texture, I'm kind of sliding mine on, and I am likely to do that smooth out motion with it that I did kind of with my vases, where I used the little scraper and scrape across it, but I'm not really sure. I want to get it applied on here first. And if you're not able to get your sponge under the ears and a few of those little tighter fits, come in with your paintbrush. That's what I'm likely going to have to do. That's how it worked with the base coat. So I'm saving my base to do it last. That way I'm not smearing it all over my hands entirely. I am going to do my base. I'm just doing it last. And you can kind of see how this is already looking like a ceramic-y, terracotta, clay little bunny. I love my big ones. I can't wait to put these all together. I love that these are lightweight enough to go on shelves or trays or what have you. Okay, I'm just going to finish covering this guy. I wanted to show you guys really quick what texture I have ended up settling on for my bunny. And you can kind of decide from there. So I'm taking my brush now that I've got a good application of my texture on there, and I'm kind of flicking it down my bunny, leaving in some of those brush strokes. I've gone in and done my bottom. I kind of started from his fluffy little tail and worked forward. Try to get it fairly even. You can tell that the air has started to hit my clay, and it's leaving kind of the texture's a little heavier now. It's not as wet. And I say clay, we all know this is not clay. You could probably mold some of the air dry clay around this also if you really wanted to. So now that I've got the bottom done, I can finish my last little bit here, get underneath those ears. Don't forget about that. And we're just going to sit and wait for these to dry. It shouldn't take super long. All of these materials together, the spackling, the chalk paint, all of those things dry pretty quickly on their own. So this will dry fairly quickly. If you didn't get good coverage for some reason, or you find a few spots, you can always come in and do an entire second coat. The more coats, the more texture, obviously. And the more density. You're just going to kind of thicken it up and make it a little heavier with each coat. So it's not a bad idea if you end up with more paint mixture than you anticipated. Go ahead and throw those other coats on there. I don't think it's going to hurt anything. But there we go. There's my cute little clay bunny. And I'm going to let him dry and show you what he looks like dry. And let you decide if you want one that's just clay. And then I'm going to show you how I'm going to kind of take it a step further and age it a little bit. Or I'm going to whitewash mine, and it's going to kind of distress it some. Kind of put a little age and patina on it. So I'm going to put this little guy over with his friends and let him dry. Okay guys, I'm back. My bunnies are pretty much dry. This is kind of where I stand with just the clay bunny look. You can see he stands up pretty good. Like I said, you could always just leave it the clay, do a couple layers on there, and just have this clay looking bunny. But I've just got my little cut down Dollar Tree kitchen sponge. I'm taking a little water and spritzing on it. And I'm just using some of the same paint mix that I used at the beginning for our base coat. I had some left over. So I'm just using that. It's not necessary. You could just use white chalk paint for this, but this is the mix with the the baking soda and stuff. I'm just going to take this and I'm going to drag it across my bunny. You can kind of see where that's going. It's a little wet. I've got a little bit of peachy kind of look going on here. Get down in some of those little crevices there. I want the white to settle down in those more than anything else. So now that I've got a little bit on there, I'm just going to come back in with a slightly drier one. This one didn't have anything on it. I'm going to dust some of that off. Very similar to what I did with the vase. My hands are a little wet and slippery now. So when this dries, it's almost going to have like this ashy kind of look to it. If you can see, almost that chalky look that you see on a lot of your clay ceramics. And you just kind of do it wherever you feel like you might want that look at. And there we go. That's going to dry up. It's going to have a more chalky kind of consistency. And we're going to have a couple of little clay bunnies. I still need to do my other little pals here. But you can kind of see that comparison side by side. And there we go. That's all I got for you guys. I was in the middle of doing this and I figured, let's see if my friends want to do this with me. I really love these little guys and I'm hoping I can find a few more. Just because I do have the actual ceramic versions. I'm probably going to do a couple more and maybe just dry brush some white across it. I still have a few ideas to play with, but this kind of gives you the general idea of something you can do with these little bunnies. I hope you get a chance to do a little crafting. If you haven't had the opportunity, hop on over to the Peppermint Cactus page. Check out what's going on over there, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye, y'all.